Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla and today we're just gonna have a casual little money chat. I don't know that money chat is the best thing to call this, but really I'm just going to be kind of talking about random things that are in relation to finances or somehow tied to finances. Sometimes it'll be controversial things or just like sharing my opinions basically on these things. I figured this is something I could do on a monthly basis or maybe every other month. And I had posted in my community tab if there was anything specific that y'all wanted me to talk about, and I have a few things. So each of these videos I'll probably focus on 3 to 4 things. And really I'm willing to talk about just about everything. So if y'all have anything that y'all want me to talk about specifically, feel free to comment that down below. I have a running list in my notebook, so I jotted down everything that y'all commented on that community post, but if there's anything else, I'll just keep adding it. I first want to talk about being self-employed, and this is actually going to lead into me talking about like when you should become self-employed. Somebody asked me to talk about this. It hasn't even been 2 months since I left my job, and it feels like it's been a lifetime, which is weird, I suppose. I would say that the days are long in a good way, but the months are short. Like, we're already almost into July, and that's insane to me. I know I say that all the time, but I feel like I thought that when I left my full-time job, things would slow down. And I will say that the days feel slower because I'm doing much more in them, just like in relation to my business, but the months are still flying by. With what I'm about to say, I don't want to sound like insensitive or like I'm bragging or boasting about my current situation, but I have got to say that being self-employed is like, it's like a dream, honestly. And I'm not going to say it's easy piece of cake. It's so much easier than working a 9 to 5. Of course, it's probably so much easier than any other job. But when I think back on working, which was just, 2 months ago, I'm like, what? Like, how was that a part of my life, and why was I doing those things? Like I had tasks to complete on a weekly basis, and we would have these daily stand-ups where I'd have to talk about what I was doing for the day, and I had it's just so weird. The things that I was doing were, when I look back at them now, were so silly. And obviously the people still working at that job are doing those things, like continuing to do those things. And I'm like, I am so glad I am not doing those things, because it was just silly little things for companies that like what? Obviously a lot of things led up to me leaving my job and becoming self-employed, but that was a big thing, especially toward the end, like just doing things on literally a daily basis, Monday through Friday, for 8 hours a day that I did not want to do, for companies that I did not care about. Like, sure, I liked the people, like the direct clients that I was working with, and like they were fine, they were friendly people, but at the end of the day, I don't care. I don't care about the companies that they're working at. I don't care about what I'm doing, what I was building in Salesforce. Like, I was so unattached from that and unfulfilled from it that it was like sickening. It just is so soul sucking. And now that I'm on the other side of that, where everything that I'm doing is for me, I am just so much more motivated. And sometimes I think like life is good right now, life is good. And I'm just very grateful to be in this position. So as always, thank you all so much. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support, because y'all are a big part of it, and I'm just so very grateful to be here, because it's been great. And not every day is amazing, there are some days where I'm not as productive as other days, but that is absolutely okay. And I can do what I want to with my time, and if I need to take a break, I can take a break. I've been having headaches really frequently, which is frustrating. So those days I've been a little bit slower. But before, when I was working full time, I always have suffered with headaches. Like it's on a pretty regular basis that I get headaches and migraines, but I would just have to work through them. Like, I had no other option because I had to work my job. Yes, I could take sick leave, but I had headaches and still have headaches on a regular basis. So I would be taking sick leave like every single week, maybe multiple times a week if that were the case, but you just had to push through it. And for the most part, I push through it, because it's like, I get them frequently, but I have the option not to do that if I want to. Like, I could take a nap, or I could just step away from the screen for an hour, 2 hours, come back later. I wouldn't have to make up the work and work later. It's like night and day. And that leads me to the first little topic that I'm going to talk about today. And that is how one knows they're ready to quit their job and venture into self-employment. Now, there's no one size fits all answer for this, I would say. Honestly, I don't recommend anybody just up and quits their job in order to start a business. You know, like if you have no foundation to start with, you've never earned any money outside of your full-time job, I don't recommend just leaving your job and trying to do that. If your goal is to one day be self-employed, but you don't have anything established yet, then you got to start that right now. So while you're working a full-time job, while you have a steady stream of income, use that, leverage the money that you're earning from your business to not only be responsible with your personal finances. So you've got to be budgeting, tracking, saving, paying down debt if you have it so that you can get into a better financial situation, but also use that money to purchase anything that you need to start building your business. There are so many businesses now that you can start for free though. Like if you wanted to start a YouTube channel, you can literally just use your phone and the free editing software that you have on your laptop and start from there. Or you could start on TikTok or Instagram. Like there's so much that can be started online for free, and that is where I suggest most people taking things because technology is just only going to grow. Like social media is going to continue to grow. The other thing you can leverage from your full-time job are the skills that you have. So for example, I'm going to use Salesforce consulting because that's what's most familiar to me, but I was a Salesforce consultant. Now I signed a non-compete, so I wasn't allowed to work at my full-time job and then do freelance Salesforce consulting on the side. So be careful with that. But if you work at a job where you don't have a non-compete and you can take those skills and start freelancing on the side, make some money on your own, doing the same thing that you're doing at your full-time job, that is how you can get closer to self-employment. Because sometimes your full-time job is your passion, or it's something that you're so good at that you're like, I could do this on my own and have more flexibility, and I wouldn't mind doing this on a day-to-day basis, but I don't want to have to work a 9 to 5, or I have a toxic job, a toxic boss. So that's definitely an option for many people. Just be careful with non-competes. But let me get back to the question in hand here, which is how do you know when to take that leap? This is a very personal decision to make because honestly, when I left my job, I would have preferred to have more money saved up. The more security that you can create in your life, the better. I feel like when I left my job, I was at a very good financial point. You know, I paid off all of my debt. I had a pretty decent amount in savings. I don't live alone. I don't have any dependents, but y'all know that my original plan was to save for a total of 18 months. And I know that if I waited until about a year from now, I would be in an even stronger financial situation. But at the same time, I was questioning at what point does that even matter? You know, like my mental health was becoming more of a priority to me than having more money. So I think that's the first thing. If you have a solid financial situation right now, and you feel much more comfortable to take that leap into self-employment, then probably is a good time. Like if you have something already established though, because that's the second thing is knowing and trusting that you are making enough income from whatever it is you'll be doing in self-employment to be able to keep up with your daily expenses. I love encouraging people to start side businesses, like post the content. I want more people to become self-employed because I think that is the ideal situation to be in. Of course, it depends on what you want out of life too. And really that's because I know a lot of people and I've spoken to a lot of people who want to become self-employed. So it's not for everybody and that's okay. If you are comfortable with your 9 to 5, you're cool, you're chilling with that. I wish I was that way. Honestly, I wish I could have just done a 9 to 5 and not wanted to do anything. I just am way too passionate of a person to continue working a 9 to 5. Or like I knew I wouldn't be able to do that for my whole life. But I do really wish I was that way. Like I wish I was content with working a 9 to 5 and then in the evenings just reading and not doing anything for business. But I'm just not wired that way. But what I was saying is I don't want anybody to get themselves into a situation where they feel stressed about finances because that is going to lead to a whole plethora of problems. There's going to be problems within your brain, like with yourself. You're going to be questioning things and that's going to make it harder for you to focus on your business or even to build things. You might get into a state of depression even. It's going to potentially affect your relationships, your romantic relationships, your family, because you're going to be stressing about finances. Like financial stress causes a lot of problems. So I don't want anybody to make it worse for themselves by chasing their dreams, you know? And also, if you are super stressed about finances when you take your business full time, you're going to start not being as passionate about it. You're not going to love the process because you're like, oh, I need 10 more clients. I'm not going to make it. Like, you know, you're going to start being desperate for things and it's not going to be your authentic self. And I think if you have any doubt about that, I mean, I wouldn't say any doubt because I came into this quite like scared, of course, because this is a big leap. But if you are the type of person who is like, I know 100% I am going to stress about finances, then you probably should hold off. Like keep on building on the side and then you can take the leap. But if you have your finances in order, you have sound proof that you are bringing in at least somewhat of a steady income on a monthly basis from your side business and you're doing that part-time, then you know that you can take it full-time and make more money. Okay. Second topic is going to be on money anxiety. This is a good one. It has come up pretty often lately amongst my one-on-one clients too. So how to deal with the constant feeling of being scared that something might happen and savings might all go away. It's an unreasonable thought, but it often comes to mind and becomes worse the more money a person has. That comment got the most thumbs up, and then it had a few comments agreeing that was a good topic to talk about. So happy to talk about it. And this one's also kind of tricky because, again, there's no one size fits all to resolve these issues. It's also not something that you can resolve overnight. And it's also something, I hate to say, that may never go away. But it can get better. I did put up a short recently. Lately, I've been posting about money mindset, and the last one was that money will get easier, and I kind of touched on this there. But I do really agree with that. Money will get easier. So if you are budgeting and tracking, like doing what you need to do with your finances, so even right now, it might be tough. You could be in a stressful financial situation, and you're definitely going to have money anxiety. Back in the day when I had a lot of debt and, you know, low income and I was struggling with finances, I was stressed constantly and feeling anxious about money all the time. But as time went, I kept budgeting, I kept tracking, I kept educating myself on finances, and I became more resilient because of this process. You know, you start to accomplish things, you start to realize that you can get through tough times, paying off thousands of dollars of debt, getting through an emergency. Like you can do these hard things. And yeah, you're just doing what you need to do, paying down the debt, saving more, investing more, increasing your income. It will get easier just naturally. And because of that, at least from my experience, I've found that my money anxiety has decreased significantly. But there are still times that I feel anxious about things or guilty about spending, even though I am where I am. This actually happens the other day because I ordered Chipotle. I ordered Chipotle for my boyfriend and I was like, no, it's fine. I'll order it. And I have some credit on my Uber Eats gift card on my Uber Eats app because for my full-time job, I like redeemed a bunch of rewards. And I was like, oh, I'll just use that so I can get everything paid for, basically, right? But instead, I was like, no, let me use the app because on Uber Eats, you can't get like extra rice, and I had like a free tortilla in the app, so I was like, let me do the app instead, so I'll just pay for it on my credit card. Because of this purchase, it caused me to go over budget on food spending, and I was like visibly upset about it. I was with my boyfriend at the time because I ordered for him and myself. This was after the gym, and I was just kind of quiet after. And I don't know why I was feeling so much anxiety about it, but I was like, one, I went over budget. Why didn't I just use the app, you know, to cover it? And I just feel guilty about spending on food out. I don't like having to pay 10, 15, 12. Obviously Chipotle is like $10, $12 per person. But I don't love that. At the end of the day, rice, beans, and whatever else they put on in their bowl, it's like worth $2. And when you purchase that, you're paying like, you know, so much for those cheaper items. And obviously it tastes good. Sometimes it's worth it. But like I don't like doing that because I know that I can just cook at home and save money. So yeah, I don't know if it's something that will ever permanently go away. It's something that gets better just overall as you improve your finances and with time. I think my best advice for this, first of all, is going to be just general therapy. There are some people who tell me about their anxious thoughts, and like some people just have anxiety in general. And obviously, if you have that, then you're gonna have money anxiety too, or oftentimes. So if you're not seeing a therapist, like you should talk through these things. If you are feeling money anxiety, talk through this with a professional, because sometimes it's a much deeper issue, like something that happened in your childhood or something that happened in a previous marriage. Like it can just be deeper rooted and you want to get to the bottom of that, and that's not something that I can address. But otherwise, I would say control what you can control, because that's all you can do. Don't worry about inflation, don't worry about the rising cost, like don't worry about those things. Don't worry about politics. You need to focus on yourself, and you can control certain things in your life. You can control your financial habits, tracking, budgeting, that sort of thing. You can control a lot of your spending. So if you notice yourself overspending on personal, or if you are doing things that are putting you into the negative that you could cut out, you can control that. But there are some things you can't control. We're not going to stress about those, because there's no reason for you to have money anxiety about that. Like you literally do not have control over the price of gas, for example, or who is the president, or the fact that groceries are going up. Like you can be tighter with your budget and be more particular about what you're purchasing, but just focus on what you can control. And then also make sure that you are looking at your accomplishments and being proud of those accomplishments. Like you need to see proof in your finances that you are good, like you are doing a good job. Remember that we're also living a life, and I know the way that society is, it's really set up for us to almost be miserable. Like you just go to school, go to more school, get a job, pay bills, and watch TV. But you also want to enjoy life. Like, what is the point of working if you can't appreciate and enjoy your finances? I'm not saying to go on a shopping spree or do anything crazy, but make sure that your finances aren't just like a negative experience all the time. Like, you don't need to be obsessively checking your spreadsheets. And that's coming from somebody who used to obsessively check their spreadsheets and still probably checks more frequently than they need to. But that doesn't stress me out. To me, it's kind of just like fun. I've turned everything into a positive thing. All of it is fun to me. I like to see finances as a game. I guess what I'm getting at overall is try to bring as much positivity into your finances as possible, which is why I'm reminding y'all to look at your accomplishments, because if you're just looking at things day to day, you're not going to see those. So look back at the last 3 months, look at the last 6 months, look at the last year, see how far you have come from just a year ago, and it is pretty incredible for most people. I don't know that I have the best answer for that, but hopefully that helped. I feel like I just mumbled a bunch of nothing. All right, moving on to the third and final topic, which is going to be finances and relationships. So specifically with your partner or in a marriage. This came up in a couple of comments. So husband and wife not joining accounts. And someone asked, do you think it's important for married couples or couples in a committed relationship and living together to combine finances or keep them separate? So I'm going to talk about this obviously through my perspective and how I live my life, because I'm in a committed relationship. My boyfriend and I have been together. It'll be 7 years coming up this summer. We are not married. We do live together. We will eventually get married, but it's not something that, like, marriage honestly scares me. Marriage scares him as well. Like, so will we eventually get married? Yes, probably. But as of right now, we are not, and we live together. And this house is in his name, and he handles the bills on that side. Like, he's paying for it. I trust that 100%. But I send him money on a monthly basis. So my portion of the mortgage, as well as my half of the utilities. And I was very surprised when initially moving in with my boyfriend, the comments that I received around this, because some people were saying like, why are you paying for the house? Like, you should not be paying anything. Like, what do y'all mean? I can't just live here for free. Like, this, at the end of the day, is a relationship. And whether this house is in my name, his name, both of our names, like, I still want to pay something. That is, to me, that is wrong to not be paying something. If I felt I was in a situation where he was going to, like, take advantage of me, that wouldn't be a true relationship, you know? If it was like, oh, I'm just going to take your money so I can pay the mortgage and then I'm gonna kick you out. Like, that's not what's gonna happen. I think also I'm in a better situation than even if I was like officially renting from a landlord or at an apartment, because that is tied in with a lease. So if I wanted to leave an apartment or with like renting from a landlord, I would have to break the lease and pay more money. But with this, if I absolutely needed to or wanted to leave this house, I could do that, and I wouldn't have to pay anything. I wouldn't have to do anything. I could just up and leave. And I have built my finances to a point where I have a decent amount in savings. I have my own income. Like, I am a very independent person to start with, and I feel very comfortable in this situation. I think while not being married, you should not have a joint account. And that's just my personal opinion. I think that would be okay for certain. So, like, I would be okay with doing that with my boyfriend, but it's not necessary by any means. Like, he trusts that I'm going to send him the money every single month, so that's what I do. I am obviously very detailed and strict with my budget, so I am always adjusting how much I need to pay him, and then I pay it to him on like by the first week of the month. We've also always kept our finances separate, so he has his own income, I have my own income. We buy our own groceries. Sometimes we share certain groceries. If we want to buy something, we pay for it with our own money. Like, we are two individual people, and then sometimes we buy things for each other or like together, you know, like going out to eat or traveling. Those things get combined, but that wouldn't call for a joint account. Like, one of us books the flight, one of us books the Airbnb, then we split it. So, you know, like, everything works out because we have an agreement and we communicate about these things. That's the most important thing, is like trust, communication. Make sure that you actually are comfortable with this person. Like, if you are not talking about finances with your significant other, especially somebody that you've been with for a long time, that is a red flag. Like, you've got to be talking about finances, especially if marriage is on the table. So as long as y'all are on the same page while you're living together and not married, great. Whatever works for you works for y'all. If you want to have a joint account, then go for it. But just be really, really careful. I have learned from my past mistake. I co-signed on a car in a relationship that I was in the past, and that was awful, awful mistake, which is why I'm very hesitant and will probably never put my name with somebody else again, unless I was married. So obviously everybody is allowed to make their own decisions, but whenever I hear people, you know, buying a house with their partner and they're not married to them, I'm like, I just give warnings, you know, like, be careful, stay on top of things. If anything goes south, like, you might regret this, but it's a learning lesson, that's for sure. Now, when you're actually married, I think, thinking of my relationship, when we do get married, we probably will still keep things separate. Now, maybe we have discussed opening a joint account in the future when we are married, maybe for things that we spend money on together. So like travel or the bills, even the mortgage, like, we could both put a certain amount to that account on a monthly basis and then pull from it when we want to travel and that sort of thing. Like, that would be pretty cool. But I don't feel any pressure to do that, or any, like, it's not absolutely necessary, because I think the way that we've been doing things works really well. I like to have control of my finances. I would be fine with looking at like managing his stuff, but like, that's just not where we need to take things, because what we're doing now works for us. And if anybody has any opinions on these things, like if you have your parents or friends or somebody who's like, why would y'all do that? Like, that's not what you should be doing. Like, you don't need to worry about that. I have heard it from comments. Like, y'all aren't in my relationship at the end of the day. So it's like, I am confident in the decisions I make and I know what I'm doing. So I don't, like, it doesn't matter. This is my relationship. This is what I choose to do. And I think I am putting myself in a better situation by handling the finances the way I choose to and the way we choose to. So again, I'm really going to emphasize the fact that y'all need to be on the same page. If y'all are communicating about it, that is the most important thing. As long as there's no tension with the finances, as long as y'all agree about how you're handling your finances, great. I feel like I could expand on this, honestly, for a whole, like, hour, because at the end of the day, I really like to be secure with myself. Like, I hate to see when couples are not handling money together. Like, if it's just on one person, that can become really problematic, because if something happens to one or the other, if you are the person who is not aware of the finances or who doesn't have any finances on their own, then you automatically are exposing yourself to more risk. I also believe that as a woman and as women, we should have more control over money, and just make sure that you can be independent if necessary. I know that there are some people who, you may not make any income, you're a stay-at-home mom, and your spouse pays for everything, handles everything, and that is completely fine. But I still think having some sort of awareness around it, but also having your own money is important at the end of the day. But I don't know, I'll stop there. That's just how I feel. I really like to be independent with my finances, because it's just preference, personal preference. All right, that is everything that I will be talking about today. This is going to be kind of a long video, so I appreciate if you've made it this far. Let me know if y'all like this, or let me know if you want me to talk about anything specifically. Should I continue these on a monthly or every other monthly basis? But I'm always happy to chat about finances, so anything is on the table. But thank you all so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one.